couldn't we meet at 11?
Well, then we have informal at 2.
Correct.
And then I have Insight Board in.
I don't know that would give us
That's
more
inside
time.
board.
Okay.
I would hope that I mean, if we are running into scheduling crunches where the most we can book is 3 hours.
I have
my-
to take budget adjustments to the board that day at
Okay.
2, so I'm gonna need
And
time
also
to
we have
That's
How about
fair.
that
Yeah, I
on
mean, if there's
Monday-
I'm just
Monday
putting
the
that out
19th?
there, if we can't book sort of an open-ended period, I
Friday
think we
the
can make a
16th.
lot of progress in 3 hours.
Friday the 16th.
County
Like
College.
since County College.
Oh, okay.
How about Monday the 19th?
Thursday the 15th, no?
Well, we have.
I have a formal, that's
Formal,
all I have.
and,
After
After
formal?
formal?
I've got Parkway formal and take the whole afternoon.
Well, no, because I have to leave here before 2.
Oh,
So
How about after?
11 to 2?
11 to 2? Or 11 to whenever you have to
The
leave.
15th, oh, the hearings is for Thursday, so.
Would you think 11 to 2 would be enough time, Christian?
I think we'd make a lot of progress.
On the 15th?
I think we're trying to finish.
It would be better than pushing it out farther and not making any.
Because we'd like, if we
progress.
wanted to have the sale, say,
Okay.
mid-August.
So I think
we've
in
gotta
that
get
time
this-
frame, we could easily identify.
You have to have 60-day
You gotta give
notice.
sufficient
Yeah.
notice, yeah.
So that'd be
I think by that
July,
time, we could
August.
definitely identify the primary properties and
June-
get pretty well down the list of the
15,
smaller
11
ones.
to 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you could, prior to that, identify those properties that are most
Sure.
important,
Yeah.
and then we could take them in
If
a
we get past that,
order
we'll do
degree.
Saunders.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
June 15th, 11 to 2.
Okay,
Thank you.
is everybody on board with that?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay, and that will be a work session,
No, it'll be an executive session.
Executive
an
session.
executive work session.
Right.
11 to 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Now, that wasn't so hard, was it?
I have a question. Have we gotten a format, or do we have anything on the trail meeting as far as a format of what we're doing?
They were making, I think, Carrie
Yeah.
making this last
An
final.
agenda?
No, do we have, what's the format? What's the,
We reviewed that at the last meeting, there were just a couple changes made.
What do
You mean how we're gonna go through it?
well, what are the ground rules, parameters?
Yeah, those were, we
Yes,
looked at those in our
we do.
last.
Do we have a final copy of those?
As you do your commission updates, I can go print it out for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I've got 2 short things real quick, so whoever else. We're just looking for, on Northwest Senior Disability Services, looking for volunteers. If you know anyone who would like to sit on our Senior Advisory Council or our Disabilities Advisory Council, Yamhill County doesn't have any representatives. And that's basically people who have interest in senior or disability services to serve on Northwest Seniors, just, one meeting a month.
Doesn't have anybody to that.
And we don't have anything on those. So we just need 2 for that one and 1 on the disability one.
I think our liaison to Health and Human Services should just take them all.
Well, I'm not allowed to because I'm on the board of
I know
directors.
that's.
So we're needing a citizen, usually seniors or someone with
Let me see
disabilities.
if I can think of
So
it.
think
Can
of
you make
someone.
copies of?
I'll give you this. We have it on our website as well.
Yeah, we have a.
Once I get to be a senior.
Anyway, if you know anyone who has a real passion for seniors.
Well, we have in our manufactured home park, we have a lot of seniors that might be interested in that.
Send
And I
them
won't-
my way.
And I won't say Joseph.
No, but whoever it is, send them my
Okay,
way.
I will.
The other thing is once a year, the folks, the Whitecap and Youth Outreach in Newburgh have to meet with the federal government to prove whether or not they've been in compliance with their grants. We met with them, we got a glowing recommendation on what Youth Outreach is doing in terms of, they do street outreach for homeless youth, they've got sheltering for homeless youth. And my suggestion to the representative for the federal government is we need another one of those here in MAC. If we had a drop-in center like they do in Newburgh, we'd not only be able to count how many people are homeless and do outreach services to them, but we'd actually be able to interface with them in McMinnville in an outreach center. Newburgh does a great job because they get the kids there, and once they catch them there, they're able to offer whatever services they need. We need that in MAC, and
Who operates that?
Whitecap.
Gee, just that there's just,
Whitecap.
there's just a piece of property that'll be on our tax foreclosures, just maybe just a place to put it.
The only thing is we need matching money, so you just keep
We
that
can
in
get
the
that. If we
back of
need
your
property,
mind.
maybe we can use that as a match.
Because we're getting more and more kids that are coming from the other cities
I
that
agree.
are coming to MAC to be
Can we
homeless.
work with Union Gospel, with the facility they have there? And
I think we're looking at it as a drop-in day center, and I think it's a different population. We're gonna try to keep
It
these
is, but we do
kids.
have, that's why is that piece of property I was just talking about is not too far from there. That could be a good drop-in center for those kids, and they could end up maybe sometime even sharing some services. 'Cause
That's what I was thinking, is shared service, because
That's close to
basically
Whitecap,
they're,
too.
they're addressing similar populations. And the house you're talking about is one there on 14th Street.
14th,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Almost across
which
the
is
street.
right across the street from.
Because that, if that's a
that
drop-in,
property.
and we've been talking about when we redo next year, I know I talked to Cynthia about some of our route changes, depending on what the transportation study of running some more routes past the Union Gospel mission, and I tell you, if that was in that general area, I mean, we could.
And then, Whitecap does have a facility there.
Right there,
So
too.
you could probably
It's
put it out there.
Three blocks, I think, 3 blocks walking from the Whitecaps,
Yeah.
because you walk to Lafayette Avenue, 1 block across the street, and it's right there too, so.
So if we get the federal government to support what they're doing by supporting youth outreach in Newburgh, we get them to do that here, we'd only have to come up with matching money locally. And, but again,
Could that match money locally be in-kind match money,
I don't think so.
like the property?
This is a big if for the feds, because you have to defend what you're doing in Newburgh. It's a big ask to say, let's recreate that here in McMinnville, but since they were so impressed with what youth
Newburgh,
outreach is
yeah.
doing,
They do a
I
great
think
job
they're
with
So
amenable
there shouldn't be
to it.
much defending needs to be done. They already saw the results.
Yeah, well, it's a question of actually getting them to take that amount of money, but just to let you know, we
But that's a
sort of
good thing
planted
to
the
think
seed.
about. Yeah, good.
See what
Good for
happens.
you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I really don't have anything except the work conference was very good. I attended a lot of sessions. Most of them were on either water or I didn't attend one of the forest lands, but knowing that the chair was going to go to all the forest lands. But I think the opportunity to talk to other people about watershed conservation, sewage treatment districts, what's going to happen with WOTUS and everything was very, very interesting to me. And they had some good national speakers too.
Yeah, I think Secretary of State Richardson made some significant statements concerning our forest management, but specifically Elliott.
Elliott's
And what's been happening there is just a fiasco. And taking a piece of property like that. And anyway, there were a lot of statements made that made you really concerned about the way that piece of property has been managed, and the sale of that property moving forward is just awful.
What I thought was really interesting is how many people from other states, from the 15 states, I think there were only 14 there represented, how different their county organizations are and how many of the people, we talked to people from Wyoming, and I talked to people from Wyoming and Utah, how much they're looking at the way that a lot of the Oregon counties are set up and associated Oregon counties, because their organizations like in Wyoming and Utah aren't nearly as tight in serving of the counties as the one in Oregon. I thought that was really helpful. So
The thing that was interesting too is the connectivity of the various, pretty much the focus of this conference was on utilization of our natural resources and how we are not doing a very good job of that right now. And a lot of it is because we don't have good cooperation between agencies or even between states. And one of the things that was really interesting, I was sitting at a table with a commissioner from Douglas County, and the oil pipeline is going to run through their county, and he was under the impression that all of that oil was going to be coming from Canada. And in the conversation, he found out that a lot of this is going to be coming from Colorado through Utah and some from Wyoming. And so there is a real connectivity between our western counties, and we need to really partner with each other, just like we need their support in trying to get more timber harvest, because one of the key things came out of it for me was the fact that when the O&C Act was formed in 1937, there were 50 billion board feet of timber in the O&C counties. We have harvested 50 billion board feet out of those counties, and we now have 73 billion board feet in those counties. The last year, more of our forests burned than they harvested, which is indicative of the lack of management of our forests. So these are things that in the conversations, there was a real focus on getting together and really getting our message. And we have a real opportunity now with our new Secretary of the Interior on getting some attention. And I spent a considerable amount of time with Jamie Connor, who is the new BLM director for Oregon, Washington. And she's really sharp. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with her knowledge of Oregon and Washington and their many attributes, but she really comes from a background where she understands the importance of harvest and the significance of greater harvest in our Oregon forests from the standpoint of dollars to the counties is just amazing. In 1999, 300 million came from harvest to Oregon counties, and last year it was 12 million. So these are scary numbers.
Yeah, you take counties like Douglas, Josephine, and everything,
Yeah.
they just don't have any money at all.
And that's because we're not harvesting.
We're not harvesting.
So anyway, that's the greatest renewable resource we have in the state of Oregon is our timber, and we're not. Anyway, so there were a lot of good information came out of it. I think that the connecting made a really good connection with the ex-governor of Wyoming, who is now very involved in.
Great guy, excellent.
Yeah, he's very involved with a service that provides geospatial formats for decision-making on lands. And it's
Oh, the stuff
very
they're doing
interesting.
with GIS in Wyoming and what he's leading is just totally amazing.
So anyway, there were a lot of things came out of it. I'm glad I went. There were times that I would have been better off to be here in my office, but for the most part, I think I got a lot out of the conference. I'm glad I went, and I'm definitely going to do a lot of follow-up with the contacts I made, and hopefully there'll be some benefit down the road. With that, if there's nothing further,
Think you wanted to talk about this?
Oh, since you did go make copies, didn't you? I think Commissioner
Quickly,
Sterrett brought
yeah.
this up.
what did I forget now?
I'm gonna pass those down.
Oh,
to
thank you.
Christian.
The last page here, I think it's the last page, is kind of some of the, we added that one, but those are the kind of the guidelines.
Yes, now, okay, yes, I did see this.
The first page is the.
It's the agenda.
A question about number 1, fill out complete a comment request form. Does that mean replete with question or just your name, address, serial
So what we're
number?
working on now is the form. People can either make a comment, ask a question, or provide written comment only. And so.
So if they want to write something down, but they don't want to get up in front of the crowd to state they can write it on that same.
And we're still working on the
Same.
format. I think we'll have three boxes that they can check. I want to provide public comment, I want to ask a question, or I want to provide written comment only. And then they can put their name, their address, if they want to. They can also provide their phone number or email for us to follow up. And then, so they will be filling out.
Is there okay, 3 minutes, good, because otherwise it could get to be a
Yeah,
kind of
because
a monologue.
if you remember originally, we looked at having two different forms, and it's been combined into the one
Okay.
form now. And 3 minutes, yeah,
So
we'll
I
do
think
the
we
3
need to
minutes.
probably call this form something else.
Because if we don't, one of the questions I had from a person, actually from two people, was that if they ask a question, somebody gives an answer they don't like, can they ask a follow-up question? I said, well, probably not, because I says, that's almost getting into a rebuttal. And I says, where does the person stop if they have a follow-up question after follow-up question after
Is
follow-up
that
question after
more than
follow-up
one question?
Yeah.
It's more than one question,
Yeah, so.
so, okay.
And then we'll, at the beginning, go over these for the whole crowd, so they know.
I mean, what if you get a question that is answered in 30 seconds? Can we take the rest of that 3 minutes to ask some follow-up questions, or would you rather they not do that?
Well, their 3 minutes is not predicated on your answer, it's on their comment.
On their comment. So if they have a question that's answered in 30 seconds, I think it's just a, well, I guess, that's good. Sometimes you just play it by ear and say, okay, next. I mean, because if they're going to ask 40, 30-second comments or make 4 30-second questions, I mean, so I think it'll all work out based on the conversation I had with Laura this morning and going to the trail meeting at the community center, and even those that were opposed, was the reviews nice, or how respectful they were, or what? I think
I've heard a lot of comments about that
It was
meeting
very
on
I did too. It was
24th.
Very nice.
but a lot of that I think is due to Dan from the National Parks. He's just,
He did a very good job.
yeah, he does a
explaining
very good job.
and,
So.
Okay, thank you for this, Laura and Rick. Okay, thank you very
Anything
much.
else? Nothing else?
Thank you, Dave, for being here.
So, you
Are you
adjourn us?
adjourning?
No, I'm not finished. Meeting adjourned.